Welcome back to another In God's Word podcast. This week we got a special weekend, I guess you could say. It is Easter Sunday tomorrow, and yesterday was Good Friday. So we'll do kind of a mix of both. We'll do uh, the death and burial of Jesus and also the celebration of the resurrection of Jesus. I guess we'll get right into this. I hope you guys are having a wonderful Saturday so far. I'd like to start off by asking this question. If it was your last day on earth, what would you want to do? If you only had 24 hours, basically you're a make-a-wish kid and you got 24 hours left to do whatever you wanted. What are you choosing to do?
And when you asked me this question, it was actually in the middle of work, and I was like, that got the gears in my brain spinning, and I couldn't think of anything else the rest of the day. I was like, what would I do? But I thought about it. I was like, one thing I would want to do is probably hang out with my family and friends, and I would also like to travel and see all of the great things on Earth. I want to see like the Grand Canyon. I want to see the oceans. I want to see everything on Earth that God made and is an absolute artwork of His creation.
That's a that's a cool one. My thing is like I just want to hang out with my wife for the last 24 hours. I want to, as Riley said, go see the great things. I want to hang out at the Grand Canyon and just sit on the edge and just think about everything before I pass. And just sit there and hang out with my wife and pray. I think it'd be really cool. I want to know your answer.
Aw.
Put it down in the comments. What would you do, sweetheart, if it was your last day on Earth?
If it was my last day on Earth, I would want to go to Costa Rica and see all the jungles and try all the fruits down there and go
Hmm.
fishing because I love fishing and I want to die next to a beautiful waterfall with my husband.
That'd be pretty
I
cool.
love Costa Rica. I've always wanted to go. I don't know if I ever will go, but I just feel like that'd be one of the most beautiful places on Earth. And I would like to be buried there, but I don't know if there's laws against that. But that would be cool. And yeah, just kind of spend the last days, like you guys said, with family. I would like to spend my last days with Xander. And yeah.
All right. That leads me into how did Jesus spend his last 24 hours? So, we'll start by knowing who Judas is. Judas Iscariot, you might have heard that name before. He was one of the 12 apostles of Jesus. He was one of the guys that kind of hung around. He was the money guy. He's often known as scared as known as like a traitor or like an evil guy. Uh, but Iscariot's actually just a Hebrew way of indicating that guy is from a Judean town of Kennereth. I don't know how to say this right, but Kennereth is the most, I think, exact saying of it. Anyway, he gets possessed by Satan, and then he plots to go have Jesus killed. He goes up to the chief priest. He's like, "Hey, how much money are you gonna give me if I betray Jesus and give him over to you guys?" And he said, "Oh, we'll give you 30 pieces of silver." Someone actually look how much 30 pieces of silver is into like American USD. Um, then he plotted to betray Jesus. He took his time and waited for the right opportunity to just have the guys come through and just capture Jesus. Jesus spent his time, his last 24 hours, I'd say like last free 24 hours, with his disciples, or his friends, he even calls them. Uh, Jesus goes and eats the Passover with them. He instructed them. He's like, "Hey, go get a room for to do the Passover." He gave them very specific instructions, like, "Hey, go to this guy and ask for the upper room." And they go and get the upper room. And this is where Jesus institutes the Last Supper and changes the Passover. If you don't know what the Passover is, if you go back into Exodus, when the 10 plagues are happening, the 10th plague was that the oldest son would be killed. But God provided a way out. He said if you kill a lamb and put the blood on the doorsill and follow his instructions, that the firstborn will survive. And so whenever the angel would come to the house, he saw the blood and he would pass over the house, giving the name Passover. But Jesus changes it. Now, no longer is the last firstborn saved from death into life. We are saved as a whole humanity. So there's bread there, unleavened bread, and there's wine there. And he said, the bread is my body, which will be broken for you, and wanted them to take and eat it. And every time they eat it is to remember the sacrifice that Jesus did for us. And likewise with the blood and the wine is a picture of his blood that he shed on the cross for us. And we're supposed to do these things in remembrance. And that's how we celebrate, but remember Jesus in communion. It's not for special blessing or anything of that nature where you're like, you don't get anything super cool. It's just for a time to really remember what Jesus did and sacrificed for you. It's like the same way how we celebrate Easter. Easter is a time where we shouldn't be focused on getting eggs and candy and maybe a little money out of some eggs, you know what I mean? Depends your grandparents, you know what I'm saying? uh, but it should be a remembrance of what Jesus did for us and a celebration that now we have a hope to live for. This is the most important thing to ever happen. If you look up the origin of Easter, people argue this with Christmas too, like, oh, it wasn't the original origin. It's not where it actually came from. It's the Catholics changed it. Yeah, you're right. Easter was the spring solstice, and Christmas was the winter solstice. But what's celebrated uh, and what was changed to with the resurrection of Jesus is the most important thing. It matters way more than what time of year it is, or some bunny, or getting candy and seeing family. This is so important. Without this, we are nothing. We are doomed as a society. We're all wicked sinners. Uh, so don't practice this wrong and do this. And I want you to celebrate communion the correct way and um, participate in Easter, remembering the purpose of it. Then, after the disciples ate and had communion, they went out and prayed. They went to the Mount of Olives, also called the Garden of Olives. I seen a commentary where they equated this garden where Jesus was in to the Garden of Eden, but I think that's kind of a long shot. But
Yeah.
this is where a place that they normally went to. This was like a normal occurrence for them. They went and stopped at like the spot, and then Jesus stopped them and said, "Hey, I want you guys to pray so you don't fall into temptation." And then he goes on a little bit farther and prays. And part of me was like, what kind of temptation are they gonna fall in if they don't pray? And especially that night, like why is that put in the Bible? So this is kind of what I thought, uh, so that they don't fall into the temptation of going against God's will with with like either anger or like defense of Jesus, because Jesus knows what's gonna happen. I
Hmm.
don't know if you guys have a different take on that, but that's where I kind of see it. But also pray that you don't fall into normal temptation too, like lying, stealing, all that other sort of thing.
I was reading, or when I was helping with like notes and stuff, I kind of was reading that and thought the same thing. And my mind's kind of more of a kind of like what you were saying, but you know how like when you spend time with God and you're praying and stuff, and your mind is completely, or should be completely, on just what you and God are talking about, and you shouldn't be upset or angry or anything like that, and like no distractions. And then because Jesus knows that he's about to get arrested in a little bit, maybe it was so that their minds were kind of just calm and focused on what God's plan was and not distracted about the chaos that might unfold later. I don't really know, but I did see that, and I was like, huh, why did he include that? What is he trying to say?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. But Jesus goes on a little bit farther away from. He says about a rock's throw away, so he's not super far away. And he goes there and prays. And some says it says he fell down and prayed. Um, he says this. Uh, oh, I don't have it pulled up. I thought I had it written down. I would like to read the words that Jesus said when he was praying. I'm gonna head over to Luke real quick. I fumble through my Bible.
Oh,
All
if
right.
anyone wants to read along with you, Luke what?
That's what I'm finding right now. Man, I can't believe I missed that. Here we go. It is Luke 22. He uh he then says, starting in verse 41, he withdrew from them about a stone's throw away. He knelt down and prayed, Father, if you are willing, remove this cup from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but yours be done. I think this is a super interesting prayer that we can learn a lot from. I don't want to spend a whole bunch of time here, but Jesus knew it was gonna suck. There's some stuff in life where we're like, this is gonna suck. And it's okay to pray and ask that God can provide a way out. Like, Lord, please, I don't want to have to deal with this. But also, we got to submit to God's plan. He is being the example for us, submitted, knowing the horrendous things He's about to endure and that we're about to talk about. Then, Jesus knew how much stress, or Jesus had so much stress because He knew what He was about to experience. A lot of us don't really understand how bad things are going to be, but especially like if we are in His case, like if we're about to get arrested, we're not going to know how bad it is. He knew how bad everything was going to be. And it was so stressful on his body that he physically sweat blood. The Bible says his sweat was as blood. If you look it up medically, it is possible. If under such high stress, your body will actually like burst the capillaries near your sweat glands, and you will sweat blood, which is a crazy thing. It kind of puts in perspective how bad it's gonna be. Uh, then Jesus got up after praying, and he goes back to his disciples and sees them sleeping. I think most likely because this is like a common occurrence, they didn't really understand. Jesus said he's gonna tear down the temple and rebuild it in 3 days, but they didn't really understand that that was Jesus dying and he's gonna come back in 3 days. You can even see in the resurrection that they didn't really understand it yet. Uh, so these guys were sleeping, and he told them to wake up. And as he was speaking to them, the soldiers showed up, and Judas goes to Jesus and kisses him in a kiss of betrayal. And then the guys go and attempt to seize Jesus. And Peter, I like Peter. I don't know about you guys, but every time I read the Bible, I like Peter's pizzazz. He's got some fight in him. But in this case, it was bad. But Peter got upset, pulled his sword out, swing, cut some dude's ear off. Crazy to cut somebody's ear off but not like damage anything else. Like, I don't know how he did that, or the dude like tried to dodge and it hit his ear. I don't know how that happened. Anyway, Peter cuts this guy's ear off. And I find this really special. Jesus rebuked Peter for it and picked up the ear and healed it back on this guy's head. That really shows you how much love Jesus has for us. That after they woke up, or after his ear got cut off and he knows this guy is going to do terrible things to him, he heals that guy. He really shows you the love that Jesus has for us. But they take Jesus and they're taking him to court. And he stands before the Sanhedrin after the next day because it was illegal for them to meet at night. And we can actually read about this in Luke 22, verses 63 through 65. Can someone read that for me? Otherwise, I can get there.
You're good. You said Luke?
I've got that up.
Okay.
Alright.
63. Now the men who were holding Jesus in custody were mocking him as they beat him. They also blindfolded him and kept asking him prophecy. Who is it that struck you? And they said many other things against him, blaspheming him.
So he stood before the Sanhedrin, and this wasn't like a legal court because they didn't have any jurisdiction because the Romans ruled over them at this time. But this was kind of a court where if they found him guilty, the whole nation of Israel would find him guilty, even though if he wasn't found guilty to the Romans. So they asked Jesus if he was Christ. Are you still there in Luke 22? 67 and 60 through 69. They asked Jesus if he's God. And they say, starting in 67, if you're the Christ, tell us. But they said to him, if I tell you, you will not believe, and if I ask you, you will not answer. Jesus claimed to be God, and so they accused him. He's like, oh, he's blaspheming. If you don't know what blaspheming is, that is to be claiming that you're God, but not being God. So to them, Jesus was blaspheming, and that was good reason for them to kill them, according to Jewish law. But Jesus is actually God, and so he's not doing anything wrong. So Sanhedrin don't have the power to kill Jesus, but they found him guilty. So they take him to Pilate, who was the Roman guy in charge. So they break him over, and then Pilate can't find anything wrong with Jesus, but the people are super mad. And so he gives them over to Herod. He's like, maybe Herod will take care of this, and then I'll just not have to deal with it. So they bring it over to Herod. And Herod basically wanted Jesus to do some magic tricks because he's heard about the things Jesus has done. And Jesus doesn't do any magic tricks for him because that's not how God works. So he sends it back to Pilate. He stands before Pilate again, and he still can't find anything wrong. Then he brings out Barabbas. He's like, hey, you guys want Barabbas or Jesus go back to you? And for context, Barabbas is a really bad dude. He's a murderer. He's a person that's killed multiple people. He's like, hey, you want this evil dude back in your guys' society? Or you want to release Jesus who hasn't done anything? And so the Sanhedrin got everyone all riled up, and they're like, we want Barabbas back. And so they get Barabbas back, and now Pilate still has to deal with Jesus. So he's like, what do you want me to do with him? And they yelled at him, to crucify him. And uh, they were they were so uproared that that Pilate let them go crucify him. He washed his hands. He's like, I'm free of this blood. And the Jews and the Sanhedrin that were there said, let the blood be on us and our children. Which you can kind of see the effects of even nowadays with the turmoil that's over in that land. So they whipped Jesus and they beat him. They beat him so bad, I don't think most people would be able to survive it. There is a really good movie that kind of depicts it. It's a movie still, so it's not 100% accurate, but it really puts it in perspective, and it's a super hard watch. But the Passion of the Christ, you see what happened to Jesus, you're like, man, how? And it is a hard watch, and you watch it knowing that it's all of our fault. So they beat Jesus, and then made him carry his cross. On the screen now, this is a cat of nine tails, what they beat him with, and it's leather, right? It's like chunks of metal and glass in it, and it was so bad it would actually rip some people in half. It was terrible. And then they forced a crown onto Jesus' head, a crown of thorns. Whenever we think crown of thorns, we think like the little like rose bush thorns. You like touch them, like that hurt. But these thorns are like long, 3 to 4 inch long thorns, and they shoved it in Jesus' skull. Awful. And he's doing this all because of what we've done. Then Jesus carries the cross up to the place of the skull. His body ran out of energy, and so they had someone from the crowd help him bring it all the way to the place where he was nailed on the cross and put there to be crucified. Then we see the thieves on the cross. There's one on his right and then one on his left. You see in all the pictures. The one on the right, I think it's the right. Let me look. No, it's the one on the left. I can never remember. But the one on the left mocked him and said, if you are the king of the Jews, get down from the cross. And the one on the left, or on the right, holy, the one on the right, this is the most game time clutch thing I've ever seen in my entire life. But the one on the right asked, he's like, he said, remember me when you come into your kingdom. And Jesus told him, I will see you in paradise today. Imagine that.
What a buzzer beater.
Yeah, I know. You're literally not on your deathbed. You're out in the middle of the open, and your time has come. And the dude next to you is the savior of the world. You're like, please help me. Like hours or minutes before he dies, and Jesus like, I'll help you. It's like I'll see you in paradise. That's cool. Sorry, we'll keep going. It is now the 6th hour, and everything went dark, and it stayed dark until the 9th hour. For context, the 6th hour is about noon. And so it was from noon to 3, it was dark, like night dark. And then, when the time had come, and Jesus had fulfilled all of the prophecies, he gave his body up. But before he did that, an earthquake happened, and the temple, there's a huge curtain in the temple that splits the holy place to the holies of holies, where the Ark of the Covenant sits, and the curtain was ripped from top to bottom. You're like, why did the Bible put that in there? That's kind of a unique thing to put in there. But it represents now everyone is able to go directly to God through Jesus. Because no longer is this shroud here, it is opened up. Uh, then he said, uh, Jesus said, into your hands I commit my spirit. Or he said, Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. And then he died. And after all of this had happened, one of the Roman soldiers there said, surely he was the Son of God. Man, I couldn't imagine being that guy. Let me look this up. Uh, Here, I start in verse 44 of Luke 23 if you want to read along with me. It was now about the 6th hour, and there was darkness over the whole land until the 9th. And while the sun's light failed, the curtain of the temple was torn into two. Jesus, calling out with a loud voice, said, Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. And having breathed his last breath, having said this, he breathed his last. Now, when the centurion saw what had taken place, he praised God and said, certainly, this man was innocent. And the crowd that had assembled to this spectacle, when he saw that had taken place, returned home beating their breasts. What a wild thing. Let me look up what Matthew says. I'm pretty sure. Let me find it 1 second. I'm sorry.
How crazy would it be to we were wrong. This really was God's son. Like what would you even begin to feel? Like you literally just killed God's son that was prophesied to come and save us for hundreds of years before it actually even happened, and you just killed him. Like how crazy would that be
Oh,
to
how
feel?
bad could you feel about that? Oh,
Honestly.
so in Matthew, in chapter 27, starting at verse 51, it says, Behold, a curtain from the temple torn into two from top to bottom, and the earth shook, and rocks were split, and the tombs were also opened, and many bodies of the saints who have died were raised. And in the coming out of the tomb after his resurrection, went to the holy city and appeared to many. And this is what the centurion said. He said, truly, this was the Son of God. Oh, you're standing there and you killed this dude, and then everything breaks loose. You're like, uh-oh.
It's gotta be like bone
Uh-oh.
chilling. Like
Oh, I couldn't even
I always
imagine.
think of uh that one guy that does like streaming, and he's like, "Oh, chat, we are cooked here." That's the thing I think of. Like,
Uh,
oh no, what did we just do?
yeah,
I think
but
it
like
also
10
didn't really
times as bad.
Oh yeah.
I also don't really think it hit them as bad until like the signs started happening, you know, because okay, the fact that it said the time of day it was, and the fact that it became dark kind of makes me think that it was just like an average, like somewhat sunny day, and then all of a sudden it becomes dark, and then the ground shakes, and then you have this giant curtain, who wasn't like a tiny little thin curtain that we have today, I add, but a very, very, wasn't it like a thick curtain, like several layers
I
thick?
think I think it was 4 inches, 4 to 6 inches
Like
thick. I could be
it
wrong about
it
that, but I'm
wasn't
pretty sure that's how big it was.
like, because I know it wasn't no like flimsy little thing that you could just rip, you know, with your hands. Like this was a big, thick curtain meant to do a specific job. And then you have all these other signs. You kind of would be like, "Ooh, I think like we messed up. Like there's no way all these like things happened at the same time. Like crazy, crazy things."
Yeah. After Jesus died, Joseph of Arimathea asked that he might take the body of Jesus and bury it. And so he takes the body, wraps it up, and puts it in a tomb. And the Sanhedrin got all skeptical and scared. They're gonna steal the body and act like it rose from the dead, and they're gonna try to fake this. They're gonna try to make a big old uproar. And so he asked the Romans, like, hey, can we put a big stone in front of this and a guard? And so now the tomb that Jesus is in has this ginormous rock in front of it and a Roman guard standing guard. So no one's getting near it. 3 days later, we read that Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to the tomb to put spices on Jesus' body. I don't really understand the logistics. Maybe they're like, maybe they'll let us in or something. But there's a big old rock in front of the tomb. But this was a common practice to put spices on the body of loved ones, so they smelled better for longer. There's normal common practice there. But when they get there, the stone is rolled away, and there's an angel sitting on the stone. And the angel asks him, like, who are you here looking for? He knew who. He's like, don't worry, he is risen. Go and tell the others. And so they run back and go to tell the disciples that Jesus rose from the dead. And I really like this, and I think it's really funny. The disciples ran to go see the resurrection. And we find this in John. And let me read it for you. So Peter went out with the other disciple, and they were both running towards the tomb. Both of them were running together, but the other disciple outran Peter and reached the tomb first. I find it funny that John's like, hey, I was faster than him though. I got there first. I got to make that known. I got to the tomb before him. And they
The whole
both
world to read.
saw that the tomb was empty. And the Bible says that the clothes were still as if they were like in body shaped, flat in there, and the headrest was folded up and put away to the side, proving that it wasn't just a robbery and no one just came by and stole it. It was a deliberate planned thing from God. And he didn't have to rush through and get everything done really fast. He had time enough to fold his head cover, and put it on the ground. But this is what Easter's truly about. This is why it's important to celebrate Easter. The sacrifice Jesus gave for us. He came on earth, lived 33 years of a sinless life, and gave himself up to the worst punishment that I could have possibly imagined. He was beaten, he was treated poorly, and then ultimately crucified. So, as we go out through our Easter tomorrow, I want you to think about what Jesus did for you and be really, truly grateful. And for those who aren't saved, there is no better time than right now. None of us know when Jesus is coming back. It could be 5 minutes from now. It could be 5 years from now. It could be 5,000 years from now. But Jesus is coming back, and you don't want to be caught not being a believer, because you'll be not in great shape. But we are all sinners, and we all deserved hell. But through Jesus and his sacrifice, he paid the punishment. The punishment's already been paid. If you go to Jesus and ask for forgiveness, he will. He is faithful and just to forgive us our sins. And we are welcome into heaven because we are considered righteous through Jesus. So as we go out through this holiday, I really want you guys to think about that. I want to thank you guys for joining in on this podcast. It's a little special episode about Easter this week. Link for the Discord is down below if you have any questions or concerns. And I want to thank everyone for watching. And I hope everyone has